João Ginete is one of the pillars of the Adamastor Furia project team, assuming the role of head of aerodynamics of the first Portuguese super sports car. Graduated in aeronautical engineering and with a vast experience accumulated in competition environment, notably with the #1 discipline of the automotive world, Formula One, João Ginete reveals today how aerodynamics was, from day one, the central point of which the Furia was built. Before we move on to the Furia subject, tell us a little bit about your professional background and the involvement with Adamastor.
Yeah, so I, as you mentioned, I studied aeronautical engineering in Bristol. Once I graduated, I started working in Formula One, worked for a couple of teams, McLaren and Red Bull. And then when I was coming towards the end of my time at Red Bull, I met Pedro Matos, who introduced me to Alfredo Matos, who was one of the cornerstones of this project. And it was pretty clear to me from the beginning that they were focused on doing a good job with the right tools and the right processes, and you know, of a project of this kind. I thought it was an interesting next step in my career.
Was this the first car you've designed?
From start to finish, yes. Obviously, I worked in a lot of Formula One cars, and then I worked on the Aston Martin Valkyrie, where I was one of a very small team that did the aerodynamic development for that car. But starting a car from zero to the finish, pretty much on my own, it was the first time, yes.
You know that, like with the Valkyrie, you have created a car that kids would like to have on a poster on their bedrooms.
Yeah, probably.
What was your inspiration?
Well, I think everything kind of started from the project that was already in the minds of everyone else in the team. That always defines the constraints. That's kind of the palette that you have to start working with. And then from then on, it's just chasing aerodynamic performance. There's nothing particularly complex about it. It's just finding where the performance is there to be taken and going after it. But the kind of the concept and the philosophy of the project, it was already there before I started. So all the other guys working on the project also play a big role in what Adamastor ended up being.
So now let's relate a little bit more to the car and the structure. You are the head of aerodynamics in Adamastor. What is, explain us a little bit more, what are your responsibilities, what is your role on this subject?
Ultimately, the aerodynamics team and the head of aerodynamics in particular, our goal is to improve the aerodynamic performance of the car, to make the car faster, effectively. Obviously, this is a road car and a race car at the same time, but the development is treated very much as a race car, which you can then take on the road. So a lot of this is through the creation of downforce, but also the reduction of drag and the kind of the compromise between the two. And kind of on a day-to-day basis, what we do is we have a look at the existing results. We run simulations in CFD, which tell us what's happening around the car in terms of the flow field. We spot areas where we can improve and find more performance, and then we draw geometries in CAD that will hopefully unlock that performance and move us forward. And then this continuous development is what brings us the final product. So naturally there are different stages to the project. At the start you have to draw a baseline car, and then you start with kind of the parts that you know. You start with an engine, you have to fit two people, you have to fit the crash structures, etc. And then you draw something around it, and then you develop for a while, you iterate to improve it, and then at the end you actually have to go around to making it. So you make small changes that the other guys, the structural designers, the mechanical designers need in order to fit all the components that need to be fit underneath the bodywork. So yeah, it's a cool project.
I know that you defend that a good aerodynamic car doesn't have to be ugly. How difficult was it to make this piece, gathering performance and design?
Yeah, typically if something looks very unconventional and not aesthetically pleasing, it normally doesn't work aerodynamically. It's very rare that that happens. And in this case, there was very little effort put into the aesthetics of the car, and I think in the end, the car does look good. So the two aspects somehow are naturally connected. Obviously, there were some areas where we have like someone with more experience in design, Samuel Brzozowski, who did all the interior design, and every now and then he would come up with suggestions on the external side, and if there was no impact in the aerodynamic performance, these were adopted. But these were really just tweaks. I think we're always more or less on the same page, and there was very little argument between the two sides, which is rare in projects like this. Normally the designers want to leave their mark, but in this case it was all very harmonious.
Very good. Being more technical now, tell us a little bit about your option of not having a rear wing. It's normally to see on these kind of cars, a rear wing.
Well, I mean,
was it too well done or extremely well done in aerodynamics without it, and you don't need them?
I mean, there is a small rear wing, not a traditional, very large rear wing standing on its own. The rear wing in any race car is the least efficient part of the car. So it normally produces downforce at a 3-to-1 ratio, so like 3 points of downforce for 1 point of drag. And the whole car is probably a 5, 6, 7-to-1 ratio, depending on the car. So the least downforce that you can afford to have on the rear wing, the better it is for efficiency, so for straight line speed. And throughout the project, we actually started with a much bigger rear wing, and eventually we iterated to having a smaller rear wing because the diffuser was performing well, and we decided to focus a lot of our development on that. And in the end, this was the kind of the configuration that achieved the right balance. But the decision of focusing on diffuser development was a clear one from the beginning, because that's efficient, and that is also in terms of the where the kind of the balance of the car remains more neutral as you add performance, it's on the diffuser. If you add performance to the rear wing, it goes to the rear wheels. If you add performance to the front wing, it goes to the front wheels, whereas in the diffuser, it kind of stays somewhere central. So it's less disruptive to the overall balance of the car. So that was kind of the idea.
And with that, you don't have one variable spoiler that you can change. It's the politic is the same, the strategy is the same.
Yeah, there is room for some adjustability in the rear wing in terms of gurney flaps, etc. But there are other ways. The car was designed so that you can change the aerodynamic balance of the car in different ways.
So in the future we can
potentially
expect some changes.
Yeah, potentially there is an option for doing kind of low downforce versions and higher downforce versions of the car. It's fairly kind of simple to move in that direction if that's required. But I think to achieve a level of performance and a level of drag and downforce that covers most of the tracks that the car will race at, this configuration is the start.
So it's not expectable to see major changes the first time the car gets numbers on its doors?
I think major changes, no, but obviously there's a lot going on underneath under the hood, let's say, in terms of reliability improvements and all this. So there's probably more that will change that can't meet the eye than what is visible, as is the case with any kind of prototype sports car project. There's always a lot of things to iron out before the car's ready.
Have you drove the car?
No.
You are eager to do it or not?
I don't know if I'll be allowed. Yeah, but if so, I'd like to.
What is your expectation about the performance on track?
I I mean, in terms of the mechanical and powertrain, etc., I think it will be a very well put together package because all the items are there. The biggest unknown is aerodynamics, because in any kind of aerodynamic development project, you have your tools that tell you what you think that the car is going to do, but then you get to the track and it might be something different. Sometimes it's something worse, sometimes something better, sometimes it's just something different. So this is part of the kind of the testing project, that the program that is going on, which is trying to ascertain exactly what the car is doing physically on track and how that compares to what we developed in CFD. That is, for me, the biggest unknown, and I'm looking forward to seeing the results. And also, there are things that you can do to bring the two closer together, to improve this correlation and to fix any issues that may arise. But that is part of the development of any car. So I think that if at least 80% of the performance that we expect is delivered on track, it will be a very fast car for its category.
Leaving just for 1 second the racing a little bit aside, what do you think from a normal user of the car, normal buyer, will the Furia be a easy car to drive or not?
Yeah, I mean, a car that has more grip than you need is going to be a very easy car to drive. And that will definitely be the case for a road user of this car, because you'll have more downforce in almost any road car that you can buy. For sure, 99% of the road cars that you can buy. So that will make it naturally a very easy car to drive. Obviously, on a racetrack, you're driving to the limit, and then it might be tricky because we don't know what the balance characteristics will be like, and then we have to go and tune them to improve them. But driving well under the limit, which is the case on public roads, then it'll be a very easy car to drive, yeah.
Again, with motorsports, can you imagine a track perfect for the Furia? Slower one, high-speed corners, whatever.
Well,
what would you recommend?
That question kind of depends on the competition, right? In terms of lap time, it depends who you're going against. I think in terms of the driver experience, I think something like Silverstone with a lot of high-speed, flowing high-speed corners, because of the downforce that it's making, it'll probably be the track where you'd have the most fun. Yeah, I would say something like that. Long sweeping corners, combination corners. That should bring out, the biggest differentiator of the car, which is the downforce that it makes.
Now, nothing to do with Furia. How do you see the World Formula One Championship this year?
Yeah, it's becoming interesting, but I think for sure the constructors is becoming very exciting, because there's realistically 3 teams that could win it: Red Bull, Ferrari, and McLaren. It's a shame about the drivers that there's this one guy who just no one can beat.
Almost anyone.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone was kind of wondering for a little while, and then in Brazil, I think it became pretty clear that he's on a different
Were you
level.
expecting a result like Brazil?
Yeah. I mean, it's weird.
Even when he's starting from 17th position on the grid?
Well, expecting is a strong word, but if someone can do that sort of thing, it would be him, because, I mean, we saw it in 2016 when they made a mistake on the tyres, they put him down in 18th, and then in, 15 laps, he was back to 2nd or 3rd, or whatever it was. In these conditions, and at this track, he's just on a different level from everyone else, and it's pretty cool to see.
Is Red Bull the team that makes your heart beat?
I don't think there is a team that makes my heart beat anymore. I mean, when I was growing up, I was a big Ferrari fan because I liked Schumacher, and then I started working, and now I'm a McLaren fan, and I'm a Red Bull fan, and I don't know. I think I still root for Red Bull because of the people there that are still my friends, and I wanted to see them doing well. But equally, I root for McLaren a little bit because that was my first team, and I still know some people there. Yeah, the teams don't really make my heart beat anymore because I've worked there. But the tracks, the drivers, they still make it exciting, and I still watch.
From this group of drivers you have this year, which one would you put driving the Furia?
The F1 drivers on the grid, you mean?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I'd like to see someone like Alonso having a go at it, because, it'll be interesting just to see what someone like as pure as he is, who's driven so many cars and competed in so many cars, would say, because he's got a lot of experience. He's done the Dakar, he's done the WEC, he's done everything. So it'll be interesting to see how that compares to all the cars that he's driven. Also, Max, he does a lot of racing on the side with GT, so that'll be cool as well. But to be fair, any of them, it would be interesting to get their feedback on how the car feels and the balance.
So, João, thank you very much for your time. I know that probably we will be all the afternoon here talking about the Furia and racing cars and all over the disciplines. Thank you very much, and hope to see you soon.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.